Live from Fargo and serving you on TV, online, and on the go. This is Valley News Live at 6.
We begin tonight with new information. A medical examiner's report says that the death of a 6-month-old Fargo boy was a homicide. Good evening, everyone.
The report from Hennepin County says that Owen Skoji's death was caused by a brain injury. Authorities were called to an unlicensed daycare in West Fargo on June 1st. They found that Skoji was unresponsive. Owen was later flown to the Children's Hospital in Minneapolis, where he died a day later. West Fargo police continue to lead the investigation into what happened, with Fargo police assisting. Now, a fight outside a Fargo bar several weeks ago sent one man to the hospital and left another without a job. Now, one of the men says that he's being blown off by police.
After a man was killed in a fight outside a Fargo bar earlier this year, we wanted to know how seriously the police take these types of incidents and whether or not enough is being done to investigate.
Valley News Team's Bradford Eric walks us through what happened outside Shotgun Sally's bar and why we were contacted.
A fun Friday night with friends, a few too many beers, a verbal altercation turned violent, and that's when the police and ambulances were called.
Cold cocked me in the left eye and pounded on my head from side to side repeatedly on the cement.
Tony Lee admits he had been drinking before the fight began and says the guy who beat him worked at Shotgun Sally's. Management for the bar confirmed that, issuing this statement reading in part, "We did let the employee go under the suspicion that he was involved in this altercation." Shotgun Sally's says they have a zero tolerance policy. Any employee suspected of violence is immediately released. But who did they let go? Management would not give a name, citing company policy.
We gave them statements. We again went out on Monday, gave them statements. They gave me numbers to call. I called the numbers. Still haven't got one call about the person who did it.
Lee says nobody will give him the name of the person who beat him up. Many of you are asking, why aren't the Fargo police doing more? Shotgun Sally's management reports the Fargo police have not once contacted them asking for the name and information of the former employee involved. Fargo police say that Lee told them at the time he didn't want to press charges, but now he's changed his mind. The police department didn't keep a formal report of the incident, and all they have is this, an officer's notes. They indicate that the other male could not be identified and was not on scene. So why didn't officers go farther to find this person? The Fargo police say this is a case of simple assault. To make an arrest, the assault must occur in the presence of an officer, and the severity of the injuries usually determines the level of assault. Bradford Eric, Valley News Live.
Mike Mitchell with the Fargo police says despite what happened, when someone at the time of an incident says they don't want to press charges, it's up to the officer to decide whether or not to file a report, and then it's up to the state's attorney to decide if charges should be filed.
The father of a man who says he was assaulted at a UND fraternity has a message to share. Dan Gisvold says he's disappointed in the community and is not blaming the fraternity. He adds that hate crimes happen more often than anyone wants to admit. Gisvold says growing up, his son was and still is being harassed. He says this weekend 4 people stripped the clothes off his son and beat him. Gisvold wants to thank the Good Samaritans, he says, brought clothes to his son, and hopes more people will stand up for one another.
Unless you're in my position or other parents' position that have a son or daughter that's gay or lesbian, I mean, you don't really quite get it. And they want to be treated just the same.
Gisvold adds they plan to press charges against those responsible, hoping it's a hate crime charge. Meanwhile, neighbors of the fraternity say they were shocked to hear about the alleged assault. Jerry Seba and his wife have lived next to the frat for nearly 40 years. He says the fraternity has parties, but they're not typically loud or rowdy. Seba says the alleged incident happened hours after fraternity members approached him about their 50th year celebration.
That they were going to have a party at Ralph Engelstad, and they invited us, and they said, because we're good neighbors. But no problem.
Lambda Chi Alpha is on limited operations until an investigation is completed, which restricts the fraternity from all formal activities. Now, to hear more from Seba about the night of the incident, click on this story at valleynewslive.com. And if you need help uncovering fraud or corruption in your community, here's some advice. Call our whistleblower hotline, 701-237-6576. Call that number and leave your tip. A member of our investigative team will get on the case.
Hot August temperatures in early September. In Fargo, it's felt like 100 degrees today. For those with outdoor plans tonight, let's find out from meteorologist Robert Hahn if there's any chance for a cool down. Robert?
No chance for a cool down as we head through the rest of the evening hours, and it's still rather hot out there, and it's going to continue to be so as we head through the next several hours. Here in Fargo, down to 91, but our heat index value is still all the way up at 99, and we've got heat index values along and west of the Red River anywhere from 95 to 102. Off over in Minnesota, hot, but not quite as hot as temperatures off towards the west. Just a few clouds out there in our neck of the woods, and underneath those clouds we have seen a few very small isolated showers and sprinkles. Those continue to slide off towards the northeast. Most of us, the vast majority of us, will remain dry. That includes us here in the Fargo-Moorhead area. Some upper 80s by 7 o'clock, mid 80s by 8, and some lower 80s by 9. Keep in mind, those are the air temperatures. Heat index values will be beyond that. So if you are spending some time outdoors, make sure you're drinking plenty of water.
Yes.
And seeking the shade where you can. We do have some changes as we head through the weekend, and we'll detail that in a few minutes.
Maybe jump in a cool water somewhere.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, thank you, Robert. Well, she waited until the outcome was clear. Today, U.S. Senator Heidi Heitkamp says she supports the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action negotiated between the U.S., Iran, and 5 other countries to halt Iran's nuclear program. Heitkamp's announcement comes a day after President Obama secured enough votes in the Senate to preserve the nuclear deal. The senator said her decision on this policy is about seeking diplomacy rather than conflict. If you want to see the full statement, head to valleynewslive.com and click on this story. A local man is behind bars accused of kidnapping and aggravated assault. Officers responded to a medical assist. It was a call at Nativity Church yesterday. They discovered a man who had been burned and assaulted. After further investigation, officers found probable cause to arrest a second man, 31-year-old Alberto Cuellar, for kidnapping and aggravated assault. Police say Cuellar and the victim are associated with the same street gang. Officers say they believe the incident happened after the victim violated criminal street gang expectations.
The first human case of West Nile has been confirmed in Grand Forks County. So far this season, a total of 10 cases have been confirmed in people across the state. Mosquito pools have been tested positive in Cass, Richland, and Grand Forks counties. The city of Grand Forks and East Grand Forks have scheduled spraying tonight. It's going to take place from 8:30 until 1 tomorrow morning.
One New York woman is fighting for her life after continuing to be denied treatment for her eating disorder, a situation that is far too common for many Americans. A clutter of medicine bottles and weekly visits to the ER is how Dina Watton passes her time in her home. Now she's fighting for treatment. Her insurance denied her coverage, stating she failed all previous attempts and she didn't meet the weight requirement. New York State Senator Tom O'Mara and his team have tried to appeal this case. On Capitol Hill, senators are pushing for legislation like the Anna Weston Act that would ensure eating disorders are treated the same as any other health issue.
Today, a new service lounge was unveiled in the Northern Valley at UND for its men and women who are veterans. A growing number of vets, including an ever-growing number of women.
Now, Valley News Team's Neil Carlson shows us some surprising statistics and what is being done to help veterans transition into school and civilian life at UND.
Just since 9/11, more than 6,800 North Dakota National Guard members have been mobilized. North Dakota has a small population compared to other states, but the number of men and women who have stepped forward to serve in the military is simply amazing. There are currently around 57,000 living veterans in North Dakota. The actual number of women veterans isn't broken down, but a current ROTC training officer at UND says while he worked in an aircraft maintenance unit in Afghanistan, the ratio was about 60% men to 40% women.
I mean, we've got different sleeping quarters, but other than that, everything we do, we shoot, we fly, we fix, side by side with females.
Now, 1,000 veterans currently attending school at UND have a service lounge on the 3rd floor of the Memorial Union. It's a place to get help with financing and other issues and talk about problems with other vets regarding the transition to civilian life.
Even just having other people on campus that understand them. So if they're recently coming back from a deployment, they may not want to sit in the front of the classroom where the teacher will see them. They'll want to sit in the back so that they can survey their environment. And that's just part of their training.
And Rosencrantz says it's that training to finish the mission, to finish the job, that makes veterans great students.
They do very well academically. They're very diligent about their studies, and they have really high GPAs.
And now they have a little space to call their own at UND. In Grand Forks, Neil Carlson, Valley News Live.
North Dakota consistently ranks as one of the top states in the country for per capita military service.
Later on Valley News Live at 6, are you looking to update your kitchen? If so, you won't have to range too far.
Today we've seen a mostly sunny, hazy, hot, and humid day. A bit breezy as well. Some big-time storms off to the west. A sign of things to come as we head through your holiday weekend. We'll detail that forecast coming up right after this.